Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about the Suitcase record player by Pulse. It's one of those Crosley knockoffs, and we're gonna see how bad it is. Let's take a closer look at the box. Here we see Bluetooth and for all Bluetooth enabled devices. So this record player basically has Bluetooth. It also says here retro player, 33 RPM, 45 RPM and 78 RPM. There we have the record player itself. On the side it says, Suitcase record player. Make your music come alive, or more like ruin your records with this player. And we have a big Bluetooth logo under that. On the back we see a picture of the record player itself, and here we see 33, 45 and 78 RPM turntable, 2 times 3 watt speakers, and a control panel, which basically is one button and a switch. There we have another picture of the record player, and here we see that it has Bluetooth version 2.1, a wireless range of 10 meters, a speaker output of 2 times 3 watts, built-in rechargeable battery, that's what I found interesting, a power supply, 5 volts, 1 amp DC, charging cable, that's included, 45 RPM adapter, that's also included, and a RCA line output. And on the other side we see the same as we saw on the other side. Inside the box we find a smaller box, which contains a tiny charging cable. It's very short. And then we have an RCA cable, which on the box it doesn't say it's included, but we'll take that. And then we have the manual. And that's it. So now it's time we get a piece of record player out of the box. There we go. And we're left with a Suitcase record player. Let's take a look at the Suitcase itself. On the left side you see a speaker. On the back you see an RCA output and the DC in for the charging cable. And on the right side we find another speaker. And on the bottom we have nothing. So let's open it up and look at the inside. And here it gets rather disappointing. The whole thing feels cheap, but that is to be expected. There's one button and one switch, and another switch for the speeds. Here you can see the battery indicator, the Bluetooth light and the power light. It all sounds and feels rather plasticky, but that is to be expected with these kind of record players. Let's free the tone arm and take a listen to how it sounds. It all feels very flimsy, but not as bad as I expected. It even has a lift. Let's play something on it. Don't worry, all the records I use are in pretty bad condition to begin with. So it's only to see if it scrapes. The B-side looks to be in the best condition, so I'm going to play that one. And the record player doesn't really sound healthy to the record, so I quickly took it off and inspected the damage. This is what you usually have with those styluses for 78 RPM records and vinyls, because they simply don't work. I unfortunately didn't have a new stylus to try out, but I did try to give it a counterweight, because they don't normally have those. So I added 10 cents to the back of the tone arm, and with surprising result. It did play the record now without adding a scraping noise. Doesn't mean it's all perfect, but it is a little better than it was before. These record players also love to skip because of the flimsy tone arms. The speakers aren't very loud either, and there's a lack of bass, which is understandable, otherwise the record will skip all the time. But they could easily solve this by putting the speaker in the top part of the suitcase and making it removable, like they did years before. Also, a thing I noticed is that the auto stop feature is very unreliable. It stops way too quickly. So we're gonna have to find a solution for that. So let's see what the Bluetooth feature is all about. Well, it's just so you can use this as an external speaker, using your phone, iPad or other device. It does go a lot louder than the record player itself, but you can also immediately tell that the vibration goes through the tone arm, and that's probably why it skips. Other than that, the Bluetooth seems to work fine. So let's see if we can adjust the auto stop. It was actually very easy to open this. It's only hold on to the suitcase by 4 screws, which surprisingly one screw was already a bit rusty. Now let's see if we can change the auto stop. When I finally opened it, I found out the motherboard was almost the same size as the battery. It's very tiny. And then you can see it's almost made of nothing. Which I do found a bit surprising is that the speakers are not 3 watts, but 5 watts. So you get a little upgrade from that. So this piece of plastic pushes against the switch, which triggers the auto stop. So we simply have to unscrew this screw a little, so that plastic piece moves. I pulled on it a little to get it to move a little more, because I wasn't satisfied. So now it actually stops when the song is over, but just barely. Here we see how tiny the charging cable is. I actually had to use an extension cable to connect it to my Samsung charger. My final thought is it's actually a lot similar to the Crosley record player I had, but without the option to connect it to a computer. Let's see if it lasts longer than the Crosley, because it broke down in a year and is now actually sounding very bad. I do not recommend you buying this record player, just simply the fact that it will destroy your records over time. And it doesn't sound very good either. But that is to be expected for a €40 record player. It's really low quality.